Okay, so you watched the video, now let's check for understanding. What is the connection between a bus and Rosa Parks' fight for civil rights? On a bus, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat simply because she was African American. She used this form of non-violent protest to fight for civil rights. Let's discuss what you've read. Why did Rosa Parks refuse to give up her seat? Rosa knew that the segregation laws were unfair and chose to fight to end segregation. Remember, her fighting was nonviolent. She fought by not giving up her seat. So, what are some examples of discrimination that Rosa Parks faced? Yes, segregated schools that were open for fewer months of the year than white schools. You had segregation in public places such as schools and places of employment. There was segregation on the buses and other things, segregated water fountains, restaurants that black and white could not eat at together. What did many people do to support Rosa Parks? Correct. People refused to ride the city buses. They organized a boycott that became known as the Montgomery Bus Boycott. How are Rosa's actions connected to the civil rights movement? Rosa's actions are connected to the civil rights movement in that she protested against discrimination on the city buses and demanded equal rights. So those are some of those words we had on our last test. Discrimination. When you discriminate against someone, treat them differently because of their race, their religion, or beliefs. And then we had equal rights. That's when everyone is treated equally. What is the civil rights movement? The civil rights movement is the series of events that involve people fighting for equal rights for all people. Who organized the Montgomery bus boycott? You said Martin Luther King Jr. You are correct. Was the boycott successful? Yep, you're right. It was. And how do you know it was successful? That's correct. Segregation on buses was outlawed, meaning it was against the law to segregate people on the bus. How did Rosa Parks continue helping others after the Montgomery bus boycott? Well, Rosa supported Martin Luther King Jr. She worked in a congressman's office. She founded an institute to help young people complete their education. Think about it. How is the United States today different than the United States of Rosa Parks' early life? And this is you comparing, well, actually contrasting, telling what's different. So you may include something like today there's no segregation on buses or in schools, and there's less discrimination. What word are we going to talk about? Boycott. And to read aloud, you heard this kind of action is called a boycott. Say the word boycott with me. A boycott happens when people join together as a group and refuse to do business with a particular company or business as a way of showing strong disapproval. The Montgomery bus boycott was one of many boycotts to end segregation. What are some other reasons people would want to boycott a business or several businesses? Try to use the word boycott when you tell about it. You need some help? People might boycott a business because you repeat that sentence and sentence starter and complete it. So, what's the word we've been talking about? Boycott is correct. So, a boycott happens when people join together as a group and refuse to do business with a particular company or business as a way of showing strong disapproval. What do you think are some reasons you might want to boycott a group or a business? If I heard that a business was mistreating their workers, then I might stop buying from that company. So I might boycott them. Let's connect. So remember our timeline. We have Abraham Lincoln, who wrote the Emancipation Proclamation to end slavery, and Susan B. Anthony, who fought to end slavery, but who also fought for women's rights or women's suffrage. We have Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the first lady, and she fought for human rights and civil rights for women, children, and the poor. We have Mary McLeod Bethune, who opened an African American school for girls and who taught African American men to read in order for them to vote. And you have Jackie B. Robinson, who fought for civil rights for athletes. Now we have correct Rosa Parks. Describe the important work Rosa did to help end segregation. Recall that Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. Remember, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on the bus that launched the Montgomery bus boycott, a protest that changed segregation laws on buses. So we're adding Rosa Parks to our timeline right next to Jackie Robinson. What type of poetry did you write in the previous lesson? You said free verse, you are correct. Which parts of a free verse poem can relate or tell the poet's opinion? Remember, you are the poet. So, yes, you can tell your opinion by using words, by writing phrases. So, phrases do not have to have periods at the end or start with capital letters. Or you can use your rhythm and how you read it to write a free verse poem. So you're going to write a free verse poem in which you express an opinion about Rosa Parks' achievements. Remember, we discussed the four-step process involved in writing the free verse poem in the last lesson. Use your bubble notes to complete your free verse poem. You're going to make sure you start by putting Rosa Parks' name on the first line, and then the lines under there. You continue on writing your free verse poem about Rosa Parks. If I was writing about Martin Luther King Jr., I might say Martin Luther King Jr. was a great man. He had a very famous speech. He fought for civil rights with nonviolence. He wanted equal rights for everyone. He organized the Montgomery bus boycott after Rosa Parks was arrested. So after you've done that, make sure all your other assignments are completed. And that will be the end of this lesson. We have another word, which is chapter. Remember, you heard in the read aloud, Raymond was also actively involved in the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is the NAACP, which is NAACP. Which picture on the poster matches the way chapter is used in the lesson? Correct, picture 1. Chapter also can also mean other things, such as the one of the main sections of a book, and that would be picture 2. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson. Read quietly, working on your AR goals, which are due by Wednesday, or do our ready reading.